Hey everybody, it's Joel here with DesignFlow Labs, and today we're back with the second video in our series providing an overview of the tape platform. Our first video was just a walkthrough, kind of giving you an overview and demonstration of creating applications and records in the tape platform. And today we're going to add to that and talk a little bit about automation and workflows in the tape platform. So in case you missed the first video and you're wondering what was this tape platform that Joel's sitting here talking about, tape is a really cool low-code, no-code platform, and it can help us very quickly and very easily customize our own business solutions. So, if you're part of a team who's managing projects, maybe you're part of a team who is responsible for managing customer onboarding, or maybe you're part of HR, and you're tasked with tracking, HR requests and questions that come in. All of those things can be built inside of tape in such a way that it really helps, the DesignFlow team execute on our mission with our clients, which is to bring information together, connect teams, categorize and organize information in one digital place, and then automate work, right? So we're able to build these systems and business solutions in a low-code, no-code way, so that we're ensuring that people are focused on their most impactful work and everybody's on the same page with information, and all of the information is getting to the right people at the right time. So I mentioned just a couple of use cases, in terms of leveraging a platform like tape, but our approach and what we really like to do here at DesignFlow is we really like to understand, how the processes work for your teams, right? How does work move within any given team, between different teams within your organization? How does work move between teams in your organization and external parties? Maybe your customers or suppliers, external stakeholders as we call them. And what we like to do is we really get an understanding for how that work moves and some of the tools that are involved, is we like to bring along a tool like tape to help us really consolidate and streamline that. So, today your team or your organization might run largely off of Google Sheets, Slack messages, emails to clients, a lot of chasing around of information, and, everybody wondering, what's the status of the latest thing. What we do with tape is we come in, understand those processes, build all of that out in tape, and make sure that we automate that work so that there's never any question as to who's on first, right? We all know where any given piece of work is at any given time, the current status, and in doing that, you're able to provide a much better experience, not just for your teams internally in working together, but for your clients and external customers as well. So all that being said, what do we want to cover today? We're going to keep this kind of high level. There's an awful lot in terms of automation and workflows that could be covered. Certainly we'll provide ways to reach out to us, to ask additional questions or talk about additional use cases. But today's video really is just meant as kind of an overview to talk a little bit about what's possible in terms of automation and workflows in the tape engine. So we're going to talk about the automation homepage and editor, just kind of get you acquainted with that. We'll talk about kind of the key components of automation. Any automation needs, a trigger to start the automation, potentially a filter, right? A set of conditions to let us know whether that automation should run. And then finally, if those conditions are met, what do we want the automation to do? What are the actions that we want to take? We'll touch briefly on just a couple of basic automation use cases. I'll show you a couple that we've built out here and kind of demo those for you. Again, very basic. And then we'll talk about a couple of advanced automation use cases as well. So, doing things, taking things a little bit to the next level in terms of how you start to automate some of your key business processes, some of your key interactions, again, amongst your teams and with your clients. And as we do that, we'll talk about just some general settings and options that you'll find in the workflow engine that are really helpful and really lend itself to the capabilities of the tape platform. So that said, let's bounce over to tape. And right now, I am in the automations homepage. So if I actually close out of this, I'm in my test environment here. And if I come down to automations, I can see all of the automations that have been built across all of my workspaces. So again, the first video we did, we went through and talked about how we can use tape and create applications and records. And we created 2 applications. We created projects, and those projects have related milestone records that are part of the Milestones app. So we can see those things here. We can see that right now projects has 2 workflows assigned to them, milestones has none. But we can also see, overall for the environment, this is again just a test environment, just some high level information about the success of your automation. How many hours are you saving? How many automations do we have? What's working, what's failing, those types of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down to our demo environment. So like I said, our first video was built, around the idea that we can quickly create, applications and records inside of the tape platform. So in this workspace, we're managing projects. Let's just go look at one in progress here. We're easily able to come in and add, really any kind of field that we want or attribute, data attribute associated to that record. That helps us organize the information around our projects. So you can see, obviously, this one's got project name, Project 5. It's an external project. It's in progress. I'm the project owner. We've got some dates. We can see here that we've got the ability to come in and add subtasks, or we can come in and add full-blown milestones. So actually, we'll probably build an automation around that here in just a minute. So very basic project record. And this project record has a relationship to these milestone items. So let's talk then about automations. So if I come up here to automations, I can open the automation editor. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to see obviously my existing, active and inactive automations, as well as create new automations. So let's go take a look at a couple of these that I've got in place, and then we'll talk about building one here a little bit on the fly. So the first one I built is really just almost like a policy process. So what we did in this example is we said if a record is created in the projects app and it's tagged as external, we are always going to make the project owner of those external projects Joel. So it's very straightforward, very simple. It helps save a lot of clicks and a lot of extra data entry by leveraging very simple workflows like this. So what we were able to do is we were able to come into new automation, and we were able to say from the list of triggers, these are our triggers here, we were able to say when a record is created. Now we've also got the option to do things when a record's updated, if a comment's added. We'll talk a little bit about the date field and the scheduled workflows, and we'll show you a little bit around web links and webhooks and the advanced examples we've got here. But there's a number of different ways that we can trigger a workflow. So all of these are very, very helpful, very, very powerful. But again, what we did in this case is we said, you know what, we want to do this when a record's created. Let's come back out and look at it. When a record is created in projects and where the project type is external, just make the current owner of the record Joel. So that runs exactly how you think it would run. If I go create a new project, I think I'm on project 8. I'm going to say it's external. That's all I need. We can see that the automation went ahead and added me as the project owner. So if I actually do a quick refresh, there I am. And right here from the activity feed, we can even hover here and see which workflow automation made that change. And we can even get back to the automation editor by clicking the button here. So again, very, very easy, very, very straightforward. This just helps, or this example is an example of a way that you can cut down some of that manual data entry every time you're creating a new record. So let's talk about another common, what I would call basic automation that we tend to see. You'll notice here in our projects, we've got these projects statuses, on hold, in progress. Let's say that I'm going to make our project dates. Let's make this one yesterday to today. So in theory, this one is due today. We're working hard on it. It's in progress. You can Certainly all the great features of tape, are here included. So, we're have this one complete. Can't spell. Challenge, whatever. For some reason, maybe we're not going to get this one done in time. But what we can do is we can set up a workflow to help us manage those things that have gone past due. So the second workflow that we've got set up is exactly that. It's an automation, and its trigger. Actually, let me go back and just kind of do this. Its trigger is on a date field. So what we're saying in our workflow here is on the day when our project end date arrives at 8 a.m. So in the case of the project we just put together, that project end date is today, November 6th. It was due at 8 a.m. It's past 8 a.m. What we're doing is we're saying, when that date arrives, so here's our trigger, and if these conditions are met. So we obviously don't want to go grab a completed project that might have a due date in the past and accidentally retro mark it late. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we only want this workflow to run if the records are at a status of pre-flight, on hold, or in progress. So that'll exclude all of our completed and canceled projects. And what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. We're going to say, you know what? We want to update the current record to mark it as late. And actually, the project owner is going to know that. Let's just email. Let's just email myself, letting us know project has run late. Man, I really cannot type today. Sorry for this, everybody. Okay, so then what we can do is we can embed certain pieces of information. So we could say, project name is our project name. We can say project type. We can say who the project owner is. And we can even say project dates. Again, just to kind of recap for maybe this is a manager or somebody that just needs to be aware, that this has gone late. So we can set this to run. So again, a very simple yet very effective workflow. If our project end dates arrive and it's 8 a.m. The day that it was due, and if we haven't marked this complete or canceled, it's going to set it as late and going to send an email. So let's go ahead and save our changes. And let's actually look at a couple of options that we've got up here within our workflow editor. So now that I've saved this, our workflow is set to run, when that trigger condition arises. But I can also do some other things. I can also simulate the run. So basically this allows me to kind of test it in a little bit of a sandbox. It doesn't actually run it against any active records, but it just tells me if my workflow will work or not. So we can go ahead and start it. We want to run it against project 8. And you can see here it's running, and I can click my run. And basically what this gives me is a log of all of the times my workflow or my automation is run. And I can come see this one here, and it basically said, yep, all these things worked. We marked it as late and sent this email off. So where the simulate run is really helpful is when you get into more complex workflows. If you've got, actions that are running scripts, or more complex logic, it really helps to be able to go ahead and simulate that and see where things might be breaking down before you start running it against, actual records. The other option we've got, manual run. What we're going to do is we're going to run this against an actual record. So let's go ahead and say manual run. We're going to run this against project 8. And we can see it's in progress. And we can see everything was a success. So let's come back down. And again, I just forced that to run, but basically the way the workflow is set up in that scenario is to watch for the date, watch for the time. When that date and time arrive, boom, let's take action against those records based on those conditions. So I can see project 8 via that automation that we just talked about was moved to late. So now actually if I go open that email account, there it is, letting me know the project is run late. So project 8, it's external, here's our owner, here are the dates. Again, using an action send email, it allows us to help, communicate information effectively, to folks who may be outside of the tape, the tape platform in our environment here. All right, so let's talk about just a couple of other options here before we talk about a couple of advanced workflow type scenarios. A couple of things here that I wouldn't say are hidden. You just need to know they're there. There's actually some additional settings here, within our workflows. So one of the things that you're able to do with filters, we're able to run custom evaluations based on script. So we've certainly got the native UI here to help us build out conditions and things like that. But maybe if it's a little bit more complex, maybe you need to use JavaScript to evaluate it. You can certainly do that. Something that is available in all elements of the workflow that is super, super helpful is this duplicate button. So where this comes in really handy is, let's say, for example, we'll just use this one. Let's say, for example, when this thing runs late, there's a series of checklist items we need to do. What we can do is we can say, add where's my the update record. What I want to do is I want to add subtasks. So what I'm going to say is maybe I need to add 3 subtasks that are very similar, right? So subtasks are reschedule work, update tape. Oops, sorry. That's not what I wanted to do. So our status is going to be incomplete. Our details, let's just not have details. And let's also make that assigned to me. So maybe there's a series of subtasks that need to be added to this. What's really, really helpful in the workflow engine is we can come and duplicate these actions. So I don't have to go then select, from the drop down and do it again. I can say duplicate. We need Joel to reschedule work, whatever the thing may be that we need to do, and you can go ahead and duplicate those actions. So again, it's a pretty good time saver. It's really helpful to have built into the platform, and we've enjoyed having that there. Some other things you can do. This little ellipsis here, lets us get additional settings for the action. So I can show the action or the automation being triggered either as automation or by one of the members of the team. So over in the activity feed, if I wanted to, I could make it look like I was the one making the change. We could have this run silent, so this would not create notifications, which is really helpful. If you leave this on for every single action and every single automation, all of a sudden your notifications over here start to pile up. So you can have these run silently. You can have these trigger additional automations. It's a very common use case to have an automation. Say I need to update a record to change a status field. Well, maybe that status field getting changes needs to trigger another workflow elsewhere. We can make sure that we're toggling that on so that allows that to happen. Same thing with webhooks. Continuing with an error, this is really helpful in the event that maybe say, for example, we're sending an email and the email doesn't send and the workflow fails because there was a bad email. We could capture that information, return it back in, still have the flow run, but we could save that error in a variable to say, hey, this was the issue with the workflow, and this is what we could do with it without having to come back here, and look in the editor. So In any event, there's a number of really helpful things there that we can do. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple more advanced options. So we're going to do a whole webinar around leveraging tape for HR onboarding. But what I want to do is I want to talk about a couple more advanced automations that we've got built in here. So same thing, I'm just now in a new workspace. I'm going to come up here to automations, and let's go look at our HR requests. So again, I'm not going to get into the whole process of how we've got this set up. We're going to do a totally separate webinar on this. But there are scenarios where maybe you don't have somebody included in a tape workspace because of security reasons. Obviously HR is a big one. You don't want all your employees living inside of your HR workspace. So what we did is we said, okay, when employees submit requests to HR, we need some back and forth. We need some communication of status to occur with those employees. And the workflow engine really gave us a lot of power in how we handle that. So in the scenario that we have here, if an employee is requesting time off, what we're able to do is we're able to say, okay, well, let's accept that time, or let's receive that request for time off. So we can see here when this comes in and it's a request for time off, we're able to do a couple things. We're able to send an email to the employee, a very nice formatted email, letting them know that, hey, we've received this. They're just not left hanging with a submit screen that they're like, well, I hope they got it. That's just as bad as sending an email and wondering if somebody picked it up and will approve my time off. And then what we're also able to do is we're also able to send an email to their manager with the ability from the email to either approve or decline the request. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this to show us what that email looks like. There it is. So again, some of the more advanced things we can do in the workflow engine, we can really start to tailor how these emails look. But now we've included actual clickable links as buttons to the email, and those buttons, if you recall, one of the actions is a link. Basically, the link embedded in that button allows us to then take additional action on the record. So in this case, if someone or the manager were to click the approve button, it's hitting this link. It's telling them, hey, the employee's been notified, the record's getting updated, the employee's getting an email letting them know that their time off's been approved. So again, there's a lot of cool things you can do there from a process perspective to make sure that everybody's always aware of the next step and what's going on with any certain type of process or certain type of request. And the workflow automation really gives us a lot of power in how we handle that. One other thing, and I don't have an example of this set up, but it's probably something I'll do a separate video on because it's really powerful. One of the actions we've got here, let's just say it's updated. One of the actions we've got here is we can actually execute JavaScript right here from our action. So if you're familiar with other workflow platforms, and have used those, we're able to do things like, make calls to other platforms, right? So one of them that I've seen and built in another platform that was really kind of cool is the ability to take input from, say, tape, submit it, via tape through to something like OpenAI and ChatGPT, get some text from ChatGPT and bring it back into our tape record. So there is an awful lot of power when you get into some of the advanced options with the script execution here. And it really does make the possibilities for the workflow engine almost endless. So like I said, probably a whole nother video that we'll do around some of those different ideas. But if you haven't already signed up for tape, do it, sign up for tape. And then get into the community forum and check out some of the things that other users and partners have put together, because they've really made good use out of the workflow capabilities, especially the ability to execute scripts right here from in the workflow, which is obviously embedded right in the platform. So we're able to use that to do a lot of really cool advanced things. All right, so that about wraps it up for the video today. Like I said, this was meant to just be kind of a high-level overview. We certainly welcome feedback if there's ideas or suggestions that you'd like to see, or you've got questions, as to what might be possible. Follow us, hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, follow us on social media. If you want to get in touch, and ask some questions, you can certainly hit the contact, QR code there. If you want to spend some time, working hands-on with us, maybe working through something you're stuck on with a workflow, or maybe helping understand how you could use tape in other use cases in your business, or really anything from a low-code, no-code strategy perspective. We do offer a 2-hour consultation, a paid consultation that we call DesignFlow Delve. Really, really valuable. Like I said, it's one-on-one time. We go hands-on, really making you sure that you're able to get as much value, out of platforms like tape as humanly possible. So be sure to hit us up there as well. But until then, hope you enjoy the video, and we'll see you next time.